Peace. Got my system right. If allowed, I want to share a little bit of my novel. I kind of mentioned I was going to do that in the last video, so now I'm ready to do that. Just going to read it. I'm just going to pick something and read a little bit. Hopefully you enjoy it. All right, this is it's from the beginning of chapter 1. Oh, this is the novel. This is in the background. Finished writing this when I was 29. I'm 35 now, on the cusp of 36 real soon, and I'm still proud of it. I think it's a very relevant work. Just wanted to mention that and show it off. I get into reading it now. And I could show a little bit about the layout too. If y'all can see this, it has like birth sequences at the beginning of certain spots. So that's what I'm starting to read. That's not part of the text of the story. It's a little sequence at the beginning of the chapter that all makes sense eventually. So I won't be able to tell you enough about it to make it make sense right now without giving you like all the plot. So I'm not going to do that. But I'm starting off reading this this birth sequence. It begins once a single sperm pierces the wall of the egg. The initial weeks are a time of rapid growth, and it has a human appearance with webbed fingers, webbed toes, and a tail. Chapter 1, The Artist. He's prepared a comfortable space. Deep blues that turn bright red, that turn brown, then turn black are sprinkled amongst it. Paint covers his hands, his clothes, and his rags. He's worked hard on this piece. It is quite artistic, actually, its drabness. Even in the shadows, the hues jump out like watercolors that have long set and settled in dust and soaked in the thinnest, cheapest of papers. It is the nature of paper fibers to trap and limit the roll of the ink. Some paper even traps their glow with their microscopic cross-hatchings. Microscopic cross-hatch fibers, like in the tiny cell bars. If one were to inspect closely enough, they would see how the inks have been petrified in reach. Projections, infinitesimally small. Within each and every line are outstretched hands and fingertips, in every flesh tone breaching the bars, only their arms. There are thousands of hairs standing on end from static electricity that can only be seen from point-blank range. Reaching like the artist. When this is a poem, it goes into a poem that the artist has written. Reaching like the artist. The artist is reaching. An artist's thoughts are made for expansion, and every single artist is at some far-off place sending messages in all languages, sight, sound, taste, smell, and touch, in every direction to encounter a savior. Reaching like the poet. The poet is reaching. A poet's words are made for stretching, extending, and every single poet is at some low place reaching until the flex of their shoulder knots into bands of sediment, and his voice is but a sweeping of the winds across the land. Reaching like the painter. The painter is reaching. A painter's palette blends to the recreation of life and is made to be transparent, and all but the border is to be visible as invisible to the eyes of the rescuer, as though they were staring through a window. Reaching like the writer. The writer is reaching. A writer's ink carries the currents of the conditions of culture, the crashing waves, the calm, the compromise of comfort and conflict through complex clouds as he careens, completely blind to who holds the line. None are reaching back. It's a living room. He works deeply into the canvas with precisely the right amounts of pressure and color. It's not quite ready for public viewing, so he keeps it cloaked. Its skin was stretched by tugging, by pulling the pale, lifeless membrane around the feeble skeleton until he found himself entirely inside its belly. None can see the painting but he, and without great effort, none see him while he's painting. Nearly every vantage point shows the back of a canvas, concealing the mysterious markings on the opposing surface, how he prefers it. He's falling into his painting entirely, like the existence of a second dimension is a lie, absolutely dissolved into the canvas and its process. He disappears. There's nothing beyond character while he's in its numbing aesthetic. No time, no space, and no self. Carefully creased, meticulously folded, it is emotional origami. As the walls he builds cradle him softly, like the tiny finger-like petals that wrap around the pistils before the flower blooms. Paint bubbles up in a seemingly endless supply from its well, so he paints along his walls in sticky, crusting streaks and soaks his rags with it. As, as within the possessive flesh of the droop is its stony pit, ideal is the artist in its lonely fit. The details are painfully expressive upon this box, in which he thinks inside of. Thinking outside of the box is overrated. It is a shadowy watercolor that trails of dry brush sticking to the canvas like scabs, all lining his hollow cavity, clinging to what has been rotted out by the weather, the wind and the rain, the screams and the tears. He thumps a slowly hardened buff of it, and the paint splatters like blood. I think that's enough. I'm starting to get fatigued already. I'm not used to reading it out loud. So, I'm gonna do some other stuff too, but I mean, that's a start. That's like I don't know, make you a little bit more familiar with what I'm talking about and the type of fiction I'm writing. All right, I hope to get your opinions. And hope you enjoyed it. And peace. Thank you.